The Indo-Pacific is heating up once again. Two nations that once stood quietly in the background are now stepping into the front line of regional power politics. The Philippines and Australia are about to seal a defense pact that could dramatically shift the balance of power in Asia. But what does this really mean? Is it just another piece of paper? Or is it the beginning of a new military alignment that directly challenges China's dominance in the South China Sea? Welcome back to Shadows of Strategy, where we uncover the real moves shaping our world. The announcement of a Philippines-Australia defense pact is more than just diplomatic theater. This agreement, set to be finalized in the coming months, represents a deeper level of strategic trust and military coordination between Manila and Canberra. Both nations, once hesitant to step into the storm of great power competition, now find themselves bound by common fears: China's growing assertiveness and the risks of being sidelined in a rapidly changing Indo-Pacific. At the heart of this pact is access. Australia will gain greater rights to rotate troops, conduct joint training, and pre-position equipment across several Philippine bases. For Manila, this is about more than defense. It's about ensuring that in the event of a crisis in the South China Sea, or worse, a direct confrontation near Taiwan, it is not standing alone. The Philippines has learned, painfully, that treaties mean little without credible partners willing to act. With Australia, it now has a second line of defense to complement its already deepening alliance with the United States. The timing is no accident. Beijing has ramped up aggressive maneuvers in disputed waters, clashing with Philippine vessels near the Spratly Islands and using maritime militias to push Manila out of its own claimed territory. At the same time, China is watching Taiwan closely, preparing for what many analysts fear could be the defining flashpoint of this decade. For both Canberra and Manila, the writing is on the wall. Neutrality is no longer an option. For Australia, this pact serves multiple purposes. It gives Canberra a forward presence right at the doorstep of the South China Sea, allowing it to monitor Chinese movements more closely and respond faster to crises. It also signals to Washington that Australia is stepping up as a reliable ally, willing to shoulder more of the burden in regional security. With the AUKUS submarine deal still years away from delivering tangible capability, this Philippine pact gives Australia a more immediate way to project influence and deterrence. For the Philippines, the pact reflects President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s dramatic shift away from his predecessor Rodrigo Duterte's China-friendly policies. Duterte once downplayed maritime disputes in exchange for promises of Chinese investment, promises that never fully materialized. Marcos has taken a different path, reviving security ties with the United States, opening bases for U.S. access, and now deepening defense cooperation with Australia. It's a signal to both his domestic audience and international partners that Manila will no longer tolerate intimidation. But the implications of this pact go beyond these two nations. For China, it represents the tightening of a web of alliances designed to contain its rise. Beijing will see this as another encirclement effort, with the Philippines, Australia, Japan, and India all moving closer to Washington's orbit. Expect strong diplomatic protests from Beijing, coupled with increased naval patrols near Philippine waters, and perhaps economic retaliation against Australian exports, which China has used as leverage in the past. Russia, too, will take note. Though geographically distant, Moscow sees any strengthening of Western-aligned defense networks as a threat to its own multipolar vision. And for Southeast Asian neighbors like Vietnam and Malaysia, the pact could create both opportunities and risks, encouraging them to lean closer to the U.S. alliance network while also raising fears of becoming targets of Chinese pressure. The pact will also test regional organizations like ASEAN, while the group has long struggled to maintain unity on the South China Sea issue. The growing military partnerships between its members and external powers may sideline ASEAN altogether, reducing its role in regional diplomacy. Domestically, the deal may face scrutiny in both countries. In the Philippines, Some nationalist politicians will argue that hosting more foreign troops risks entangling the nation in wars not of its choosing. In Australia, critics may question whether deeper involvement in the South China Sea will overstretch the country's military and put Australian soldiers in harm's way. But for now, both governments appear committed to pushing forward, convinced that the risks of inaction outweigh the dangers of escalation. Looking at the bigger picture, this pact ties into the broader US-led strategy of creating a lattice of alliances across the Indo-Pacific. Rather than one single NATO-like bloc, Washington is encouraging smaller, overlapping agreements, Japan and the Philippines, the Quad, AUKUS, and now the Australia-Philippines Pact. Together, they create a network designed to complicate China's calculations and make any attempt at coercion or invasion far more costly. The Philippines and Australia may not be the biggest military powers in the region, but their cooperation is strategically vital. Manila sits at the crossroads of key sea lanes and directly faces contested waters. Australia brings advanced training, resources, and political willpower as a middle power determined to uphold the international order. Combined, they create a partnership that is far greater than the sum of its parts. As the pact moves toward finalization, the world will be watching. Will it deter Chinese aggression, or will it provoke Beijing into more confrontational behavior? Will it strengthen regional stability or accelerate the drift toward conflict in the Indo-Pacific? These are the questions that hang in the balance. What's clear is that the Philippines and Australia have made their choice. They are no longer bystanders. They are players in the great game of the 21st century, standing shoulder to shoulder in one of the most contested regions of the world. And as always, the Indo-Pacific remains the fault line of global geopolitics.